for you all. Hey everyone, we are live now on both YouTube and Instagram. If you can hear me well, just say yes, Fabia can hear you. It's great to know. And today we're going to talk about 3 steps to increase your vocabulary basis. I was talking to some students, and this idea came from this talk when they said, "Teacher, I don't know exactly how I can move forward when I get stuck in a word." Okay, so first thing you need to know is that if you're reading an article, if you are reading a text, and here I have a book here, this book. This book is really nice. This belongs, I'm going to post it to one of our students who won a contest, an internal contest we had. But okay, this book is still with me. I'm going to post it this week for the student. But imagine you are reading something, a paragraph, you open your book, and the books are all in English, right? And then it's expected that you don't understand all the words. I don't know all the words. If I read a book in Portuguese, probably I won't know all the words. But you don't need to panic. What do? If you're reading a book and you come across a word, you come across a word that you don't know, what do? Do you get stuck? Do you continue reading and ignore the word? Or do you try to stop, look, check the word up on a dictionary, and then come back to the book? I don't know what you do, but here is something that I usually recommend. And there are moments, different moments in your vocabulary, or different moments that you are working on your vocabulary, and you have different strategies for these different moments, okay? But in all of these strategies, what I don't usually recommend is that you look for the translation of the word. If you do that, I want you to stop and think about what I'm going to put to you, right? If the first thing that you go, you came across a word and then you don't know, and you go and check the word in a dictionary. And this is the first thing that I recommend my students not to do. Because translations, they might be helpful. We are in the Olympic moment, okay? We are having the Olympic Games. So if you watch the athletes, we have the sprints, sprint, like 100 metros rasos, 50 metros rasos. In the running process, you have these sprints, but you will also have the marathon. So looking for word translations might be helpful for these sprints. They're helpful for you until page 2 of the book. They're not really helpful for you to build a consistent vocabulary basis. If you really need to build a consistent vocabulary basis, you need to start thinking in English. So looking for the definition of the word in this process is a lot more important than looking for the translation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Looking for the definition of the word is a lot more important for your vocabulary basis to be solid and consistent than looking for translation. If you are just looking for translation, you are going to have limits in your communication. And it's kind of like a deep process for me to explain everything now, right? But this is something you should avoid. Translations. Okay, teacher, I'm reading an email and there is an expression that I came across in the email and I need to answer. What should I do? I shouldn't look for the translation. In some cases, yes. But this is the difference. Okay, you are in an emergency and you are looking for a word. Okay, so the translation might be helpful. But you are reading an article, you are reading something with the intention of learning new words, with the intention of increasing your vocabulary basis. It's your self-study moment. then translation should be the last option in your learning process. You see? First, you're going to try to use a monolingual dictionary, English dictionary. Go for it. Check the word, check the definition, check the way it's used. Take notes, get a file on your computer or get a notebook and take notes of the words. Write down examples in which you could use these words, like real use of English, how it applies for you, and then you come back to the article. Are you with me? Can you understand what I'm saying? Or like, it's too much, teacher, I don't really get what you're saying. I want to know. Okay, so if you are reading something in English, but you are looking, your objective is to increase your vocabulary basis, then translating the word should be your last option. In this case. But okay, you are reading this book. You decided to read this book in English, and I'm going to read this book with the students during the semester. It's going to be fun. But okay, you are reading the book. If you open your book and you stop at every single word that you don't know, you are going to be stuck in your reading process. So my recommendation, read a paragraph or a page of the book. Underline the word that you don't know, but try to continue reading. Try to have this fluency. Try to have these flowing. And when you finish the paragraph, and if you still don't understand the word, then you stop and look for the word in that moment. Otherwise, you're not going to stop in that moment. You are going to continue reading, but be aware of the words you need to learn. And by the end of the chapter, for example, or the page, you stop and you look for the words, for the new words. You stop and check vocabulary. This is important. And imagine you're going to read, for example, 10 pages a day of this book. This is your study plan. You're going to study 10 pages a day. You read one page, 10 pages, you finished. Tomorrow, when you come back to read other 10 pages, review vocabulary that you studied today. This is a very efficient. Sometimes some people say, teacher, but this is a lot of work to do. And it is. Of course it is. Who said it wouldn't be? But this is a very good basis for you to improve vocabulary. And if you're a visual student, if you learn things by seeing them, you need to write and see it again on your page, on your notebook. So basically, what you should avoid so far, you should avoid translating words. Avoid it. And if you decide to use translations, be aware that this is, in the long-term learning process, this is more harmful than helpful. Okay? Translations in the long term is more harmful than helpful. Harmful, helpful. Do you know these words? It's not going to be harmful is something that's bad for you. Helpful is something that's good for you. So opposite words. So translations in the long term are more harmful than helpful. And this is not going to help you really go into reading things in English. And reading is a very good way for you to be involved. You don't need to take classes. You can get any subject you like to talk about and read it in English. So this is the power of reading, being able to read. And read is a very powerful skill. You learn a lot of vocabulary. You learn new expressions. You learn how to write. You improve your writing by reading. You improve your speaking by reading. You improve your listening somehow. Not directly related, but there are specific things that you can do in your reading process that will lead you to a better listening because you improve your vocabulary. So if you think your limitation in communicating is because of lack of vocabulary, you are going to be able to improve your vocabulary basis by doing these things. First of them, read, identify, highlight the words you don't know, and then you list all of these words on a different page, not in the book, but you can have a notebook or you can have a file on your computer. I don't know the way you prefer to work. I would have a notebook. I like reading, writing. But then after that, after you finish one page or one paragraph, you come and look for the words. You come back and look for the words. Don't try to do that at the same time because you're going to be disappointed. This is one of the main problems. First, you have to read the whole paragraph or the whole chapter or the whole page or the whole article and have the general idea. What is it about? Is it about money? Is it about cinema? Is it about cuisine? Something to cook? Is it about health, sports? What is it about? So first you have the general idea. Then you start having a look in the way of thinking of it. And then in the end, you go for the words. So after you list these words, after you list them, you are going to use a monolingual dictionary to check these words. You are going to use, if necessary, after this process, you can go for translation. Then it would be the moment for translation. But after you list the words, you read them in English, you check on for the definition of the word in a monolingual dictionary, and then in the end, you try to write a sentence using that word. And mentally, an extra exercise mentally, what you can do, you can try to explain this word for yourself in front of the mirror, for example. Would you be able to explain this word for you? So they're very simple processes that you can do starting from today. You don't need a lot of tools, a lot of different tools, but you can do that. It's proven that when you read, people who read have better vocabulary, have better communication skills, have better possibilities at work because of reading. So I'm a great fan of reading, but when people say, "Oh, I don't like reading, teacher," you don't need to read a novel, but you can read an article. What do you like to study about? Do you like to study, or if I open your Instagram right now, what is going to be popping up? Is it something about sports? Is it something about health? So read articles in English. Try to find these influencers in English, native people, and try to read what they create. Do they have books? Try to read their books. So reading is a skill and we can develop it. Maybe you think it's boring because maybe you were given like a novel to read, Shakespeare to read. And it might be boring for some people. Not everyone likes that. But if you're reading something that's interesting for you, why not? Isn't it worth a try? Okay, so this talk was fast today because it's just because a student came to me as a teacher. I've been having difficulties with learning new words. So what would be the easiest way for me to do that? And this is what I told her. And then I decided to bring this topic here to you in order to share this with you. This is my mission, to share like skills for you to improve your communication in English. I don't want you to be stuck anymore. So, does it make sense for you what I said now? How difficult or how easy is learning new words for you? Is it very difficult? Because some students tell me, they even tell me, teacher, okay, I learn a new word, but then the next class I forget it. Does it happen to you or not? I don't know. Some students do that. And usually when it happens, it's just because uh, you are not respecting the way you learn. If this happens to you, you have to change your strategy. Basically, I remember a student I had many years ago, and he wouldn't open his notebook. Even he was an adult, even though he had his notebook, he used to only listen to class. So he used to sit in class, cross his arms, and pay attention to me. And he asked me many words. I told him, and he wouldn't take notes of these words. And then I said, my dearest, isn't it important for you to take notes? Oh, no, I will remember. Next class, he came and he couldn't remember. And and all this for teacher, I feel like I'm not learning English. I said, okay, you're probably not learning English indeed, because you're not taking notes. And you are clearly a visual student. You need to read and see the words you are studying. You are not a listener. Some students learn by listening, like the minority. Most people learn by writing and looking, reviewing what is studied. So every time I saw students saying, teacher, I have problems to remember new words, you have problems because you are not using the best strategy for you. If you're just listening to them, probably this is not the best strategy. Very few people are very benefited from this strategy. Usually they're not. So what do you have to do? Follow these 3 steps. List the words you want to learn. Continue reading. Don't stop your reading, okay? Continue reading, but list the words you want to learn. And then check them on an English, check them on an English dictionary. And then later, use them. Try to use them like artificially. How could I use this word in an email, in a document, or how could I use this, in which context I could use this word? And in the end, try to bring it to your life. Tomorrow, you're going to speak English with someone. Could you try to use this word and bring it to your communication, effective communication in English? So they are not very difficult steps. You just need to avoid what you have been doing and focus on this strategy that will be helpful for you in these 3 simple steps. Okay? I have covered everything that I needed to say. I have covered everything that I needed to share with you tonight. I don't know if I've covered, but I'm open to questions now. If you want to ask your questions, I'm here. I would be more than happy to answer them to you. Let me see if we had something here on Instagram. If I've missed something, nope. So people, you're too quiet today. Oh, yes. No, but by the time I'm about to finish the talk, there is a question here. So here. Se eu fico um mês sem estudar diariamente, parece que eu retrocedo 80% muito rápido. Como eu posso lidar com isso? Okay, very good question. And I think everybody feels that we move 2 or 3 steps back when we have this. And this good news is that this doesn't happen only to you. It happens to me. But okay, I'm in a moment now that I'm in contact with English every day. So you don't need really to study English every day, but if you're going on vacation, if you're taking classes, now you're going to go on a vacation. What you have to try to do, what you have to try to do is to bring this to your life. Studying is not only opening your book and having classes. Studying English is being in contact with the language. So in different moments of your life, imagine you are going on vacation. Maybe you're not going to study English, but can you watch a movie in English? Can you think in English? Can you think of your routine? Oh, tomorrow I have to do this, and that. Today I did this, and that. You see, you don't need to be connected. You don't need to have special tools. You just need, for example, to turn on your Netflix, and if you are listening to a movie in English. This was curious because I was talking to a student last week, and I recommended her a TV show that I think it's good, and I'm going to. I have recommended them it here. It's called Suits on Netflix. I have watched it for like 4 times the whole seasons once, of course, but some episodes 4 or 5 times because I like it, and the English is really good. And then I was talking to the student, and the student I told her, I said, okay, every time I need to practice my English, I'm not really watching Suits anymore, but if I have to leave the TV on and I'm doing something mechanical, for example, I'm doing some house stuff, my house chores, folding clothes, doing the laundry or cooking, then I turn on the TV. I put on Netflix and I listen to it to practice my English. This is what I told her, and said, teacher, you still need to practice your English? I said, yes. Oh my God, you practice your English? Of course I do practice my English every day. And then she was surprised, but this is something you have to do. If it's like training, you can be like the most consistent trainer in the gym. If you go on holidays and you stop training for a month, you are going to retrocede. You are going to move back. All the steps. And this happens to English too, to English speaking. So, but in this case, it's easier. You just have to listen to it. Try to turn all your devices to English, like your mobile. Don't use it in Portuguese. Use it in English. Your Instagram in English. Your YouTube in English. Your Waze. Which language does Waze speak with you? Portuguese or English? Vire à esquerda em 200 metros. What do you have? Turn right in 200 meters. My Waze is in English. So this is being in touch, trying to be in touch at least every day. Be involved. Be involved by the language. Don't limit the use of English only for your classes or for your study moment. Try to be involved by English every day, all the time. Because I say, speaking English is a lifestyle, not only like an obligation. Make it a lifestyle for you too. Netflix. When I say Netflix in English, it's not only the TV show or the movie you are watching. You go to the setup, to the settings, and have the summary of the plots of the movies in English. The names of the movies in English. If you're looking for something in English. And then you're surrounded by it. And of course, you're going to have the good English days and the bad English days, like the good hair day, the bad hair day. We have that, and it happens to me too, and it's going to happen to you. Some days, because I'm relaxed, I can listen and read and think in English in an easier way than other days, and it happens. Sometimes for me it's hard, and I have worked as an interpreter for a while. And I remember some days were really easy, even though they were tiring. Working as an interpreter, translating meetings, it's tiring, mentally tiring. But some days were really easy for me. Other days were really stressing because for some reason I couldn't really think uh, clearly, because you have other problems, you haven't slept well, and you are thinking of other things, so it happens, right? Chris put here, do you remember when you felt comfortable and confident to speak English naturally? Yeah. For me, the question for me, Chris. Chris is great. She's my student. Do you remember when you felt comfortable and confident to speak English naturally? Good question, Chris. Okay. I think it wasn't really one, oh, now I can speak English. I don't think this day happened. But there were some days that I could have like small successes that for me was really important. Okay. I could think of my day, and people, I learned English in the 90s. We didn't have internet. I couldn't simply be surrounded by English because we didn't have TVs in English. We have one TV for the whole family, and I was the only student of English in my house. So I lived with my grandma, my parents, my younger brother, the dog, and the parrot, literally. And okay, I was the only one trying to learn English. All the others weren't. So my access to English was the books from school, and once a month I could have the Speak Up magazine. And it was kind of expensive. Not every month I could afford the magazine, but when I had, I used to read it from every single page. But then I went abroad for the first time, and I felt as if I couldn't speak English at all. And I was an advanced student, but it was so different and so shocking for me, the experience. And okay, then after like the first hours abroad, without having the possibility of translating words, I felt like, okay, I really need to go for it. There was no possibility. I didn't have Google. I couldn't Google because it was in the 90s. I couldn't Google words. And I was in a group studying English in the summer school in England. I was the only I was the only Brazilian. I was the only Brazilian. My teacher was from Scotland. All my classmates were from different countries, from Poland, from Russia, from Kuwait, from Vietnam, from some of them were from Africa. There was one guy from Angola, and Angola is a Portuguese speaking country. But okay, we were having a vocabulary exercise there. And there was a word that I couldn't really figure out, wisdom. I remember the word until today. I learned that day. So this is when I say translating is important, but in the end of the learning process, not the first resource. So even though the other guy from Angola, he could speak Portuguese, the dynamic for us to learn vocabulary was the teacher was going to give a word, and we needed to work on the definition of the word. And guess that each of us spoke a different language. The only common language we had was English. So we needed to work to make it work in English. But okay, I got stuck in a word, wisdom. And the teacher explained to me and explained over and over, and I couldn't get it. And in that moment, I say, okay, now I need to translate it so that I can learn this word. And this guy raised his hand, said, teacher, I speak Portuguese too. Can I help her in Portuguese now? And the teacher said, okay, now yes. And then he told me, sabedoria. And I said, what? Sabedoria. And okay, that in that moment, sabedoria, wisdom, I learned because of this, all the situation. If I was only given the translation in the very first moment, I wouldn't have learned this word. But you have to be like working on it. And like speaking naturally, after a few weeks, when I was talking to, not after a few weeks, like there were some days that I felt really comfortable, even abroad, studying abroad. I felt really comfortable. Other days I felt as if I couldn't speak English at all. Nowadays it happens less, but the first time I had to work as an interpreter, I was invited to work as an interpreter. I said, what if I don't understand them? I know you're afraid of not understanding, but imagine you're just an analyst, part of a project. And okay, you are allowed not to understand, even though it's not comfortable. But imagine for an interpreter, said, what if I don't understand? Who am I going to call to help me? And it didn't happen. Most things we fear are just inside our heads. They're never going to happen. And if there is one word or other word that you don't really understand, you can ask for, okay, I don't really get it. Can you help me with that? Okay. So I don't know if I have answered that to you. Not really. I don't think so. But be in touch with English. And nowadays it's a lot easier for you to be in touch with the language because you have all these tools. You can turn your computer to English. You can turn your mobile to English. You can try to buy books for Kindle in English. And try not to translate them at first. I was thinking about these translations. I was talking I was checking on a bilingual program in a school. This is like kind of off topic, but okay. My son was recommended by his teacher at school to check on new words on Lingui. You know Lingui? It's a website that translates things. Even though I like when I'm translating documents for a company that I have I'm hired by a company in Ireland, and I sometimes every now and then they ask me to translate documents. And even though Lingui is a very good source for me to translate, but this is the final word. This is the final tool that I'm using, not in a way to learn English. Not in the way to learn English. Lingui is not. If as a student, I don't recommend you to use Lingui at first. I recommend you use a monolingual dictionary. And in the end, after all this process, if you want to validate and confirm, double check your information, Lingui would be good, but not first. If you're trying to think in English, if you're trying to speak English naturally. Okay. Yes, you answered my question very clearly. Thank you. Good to know, Chris. Very good to know. And now, people, do you have any other questions? Or you're going to watch the Olympics? That's why you're not talking to me. I know that we are having the finals or the semifinals for surf now. But that's it, people. So I hope you liked it. If you have important question, important, pay attention. We are going to have an immersion. Tomorrow, I'm going to put on the stories, okay? But we're going to save the date, August the 17th. August the 17th, next Saturday. You're going to be invited if you want to learn. Watch my stories tomorrow. You understand better. If you want to improve and speak naturally, if you want to speak naturally, I will say, I will share something and you're going to be invited to participate with me in an immersion in which you can learn this on a day, one single day for you to learn a lot of things related to that, okay? To speak naturally and confidently. Okay, people, so I hope you have a good night. Bye. It was great to be here with you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.